Good morning. Welcome to the online class lecture of Professor S.K. Paul, University Department of English, BRA, Bihar University, Muzaffarpur. Welcome and good morning, dear students of PG Semester 2, CC6 and Unit 4. As you know, I have started teaching Robert Browning. So today I am going to discuss Rabbi ben Ezra, a poem written by Robert Browning. First, I will read out the text. So this is from the text. Grow old along with me. Grow old along with me. The best is yet to be. The last of life for which the first was made. Our times are in his hand, who saith, a whole I planned. Youth shows but half, trust God, see all, nor be afraid. So it is about the greatness of God and some truths about life. Not that amassing flowers you sight, which rose make ours, which lily leaf and then as best recall, not that admiring stars it yearned, nor Jove, nor Mars, a mind be some figured flame which blends, transcends them all, not for such hopes and fears. Not for such hopes and fears, annulling youth's brief years, do I remonstrate folly wide the mark. Rather, I prized doubt. Low kinds exist without finished and finite clods, untroubled by a spark, poor want of his life indeed. Where man but form to feed, on joy to solely seek and find and feast. Such feasting ended then as sure an end to men. Irks care the cropful bird, freights doubt the more-cramped beast, rejoice we are elite to that which doth provide and not partake, effect and not receive. A spark disturbs our clot, nearer we hold of God, who gives than of his tribes, that make I must believe. Then welcome each rebuff that earns earth's smoothness rough, each sting that bursts, nor sit nor stand but go. Be our joyous three parts pain, strive and hold cheap the strain, learn nor account the pang, dare never grudge the throe. For thence a paradox which comforts while it mocks. Shall life succeed in that it seems to fail? What I aspire to be and was not comforts me. A brute I might have been, but would not sink in the scale. What is he but a brute whose flesh has soul to suit, whose spirit works lest arms and legs won't play? To man propose this rest, the body at its best. To man propose this taste, thy body at its feast, thy body at its feast. How far can that project thy soul on its lone way? How far can that project thy soul on its lone way? Yet gifts should prove their use. I own the past profuse of power each side, of power each side. Perfection every turn, eyes, ears took in their dole, brain treasured up the whole. Should not the heart beat once? How God to live and learn? Not once, not once, uh, not once beat. Praise be thine. I see the whole design. I who saw power see now love perfect too. Perfect I call thy plan. Thanks that I was a man. Perfect I call thy plan. Thanks that I was a man. Maker, remake, complete. I trust what thou shalt do. For pleasant is this for pleasant is this flesh. Our soul in its rose mesh, pulled ever to the earth, still yearns for rest. Would be some prize might hold, too much those manifold possessions possessions of the brute gain most as we did best. Let us not always say, spite of this flesh today, I strove, made head, gained ground upon the whole, as the bird's wings and sings. Let us cry, all God things, all good things are ours, nor soul helps a flesh more now than flesh helps soul. Therefore I summon age to grant youth's heritage, life's struggle having so far reach its turn, thence shall I pass approved, a man for aye removed from the developed brute, a god though in the germ, and I shall thereupon take rest ere I be gone. Once more on my adventure brave and new, fearless and unperplexed, when I wage battle next. What weapons to select, what armor to endue, youth ended, I shall try my gain or loss thereby. Leave the fire ashes, what survives is gold, and I shall weigh the same, give life its praise or blame. Young, all lay in dispute, I shall know, being old, for note when evening shuts, a certain moment cuts, the deed of calls the glory from the grave. A whisper from the west shoots at this to the rest. Take it and try its worth. Here dies another day. So still within this life, though lifted over its strife, let me discern, compare, pronounce at last. This rage was right in the main, that acquiescence vain. The future I may face now, I have proved the past. For more is not reserved to man with soul just nerve. To act to tomorrow what he learns today, here work enough to watch the master work and catch hints of proper craft. tricks of the tools through play, as it was better youth, should strive though acts uncouth toward toward making than repose, toward making than repose on art found, made so better age exempt. From strife should know than tempt further, thou waitest age, wait death nor be afraid. Enough now, if the right and good and infinite be named here, as thou callest thy hand thine own, with knowledge absolute. With knowledge absolute, subject to no dispute, from fools that crowded youth, nor let thee feel alone, be there for once and all. Severed great minds from small, announced to each his station in the past. Was I, the world arraigned, where they, my soul, disdained? Right, let age speak the truth and give us peace at last. Now, who shall arbitrate? Then men love what I hate. Then men love what I hate, shun what I follow, slight what I receive. 10 who in years and eyes match me, we all surmise. They this thing and I that, whom shall my soul believe? Not on the vulgar mass called work must a sentence pass. Things done that took the eye and had the prize, over which from level stand the low world laid its hand, found a straight way to its mind, could value in a trice. But all the world's scores thumb and finger fell to plumb, so past the making of the main account. All instincts immature, all purposes unsure, that wait not as his work, yet swell the man's amount. Thoughts hardly to be packed into a narrow act, fancies that broke through language and escaped. All I could never be, all men ignored me. This I was worth to God, whose will the preacher shaped. A note the potter's will, that metaphor, and feel why time spins fast, why passive lies our clay, thou to whom fools propound. When the wine makes its round, since life fleets, all is change, the past gone, cease today. Fool, all that is it all, lasts ever, past recall. Earth changes, but thy soul and God stand sure. What entered into thee, that was, is, and shall be. Time's will runs back or stops, potter and clay endure. He fixed thee mid this dance of plastic circumstance. This present thou forsooth wouldst fain arrest. Machinery just meant to give thy soul its bent. Try and turn thee forth sufficiently impressed. What though the earlier groups, which ran the laughing loves, around thy base, no longer pause and praise. What though about thy rim skull things in order grim, grow out in graver mood, obey the sterner strays. Look not thou down but up to uses of a cup. The festal board, lamps flash and trumpets peal, the new wine's foaming flow, the master's lips aglow, thou heaven's consummate cup. What needst thou with earth's will? But I need now as then thee, God, who moldest men and sins not even while the girl was versed. Did I to the wheel of life? Did I to the wheel of life with shapes and colors rife, bound dizzily mistake my end to slake thy thirst? So take me, use thy woe, amend what flaws may lurk, what strain, oh the stuff, what warpings past the aim, my times be in thy hand, perfect the cup as planned. Let age approve of youth and death complete the same. Rabbi ben Ezra, a poem by Browning. So, dear students, I have just recited the full text of Robert Browning's poem, Rabbi ben Ezra. Now I will give you a summary and meaning of the poem. Next, the poem is narrated by Rabbi ben Ezra, a real 20th century scholar. The piece does not have a clearly identified audience or dramatic situation. The Rabbi begs his audience to grow old along with him. In line 1, he stresses that age is where the best of life is realized, whereas youth shows but half. It is line 6. In line 6, youth shows but half. He acknowledges that youth lacks insight into life, since it is characteristically so concerned with living in the moment that it unable to consider the deeper questions. Though youth will fade, what replaces it is the wisdom and insight of age, which recognizes that pain is a part of life, but which learns to appreciate joy more because of the pain. Be our joys three parts pain, in line 34. All the while, one should appreciate what comes, since all adds to our growth towards God, and embrace the paradox. He notes joy's three parts pain. All the while, one should appreciate what comes, since all adds to our growth towards God, and embrace the paradox that life's failure brings success. He notes how, when we are young and our bodies are strong, we aspire to impossible greatness, and he explains that this type of action makes man into a brute. With age comes acceptance and love of the flesh, even though it pulls us ever to the earth, in line 63. While some yearn to reach a higher plane, a wise, older man realizes that all things are gifts from God, and the flesh's. And the flesh's limitations are to be appreciated even as we recognize them as limitations. His reason for begging patience is that our life on earth is but one step of our soul's experience, and so our journey will continue, whereas youth is inclined to rage in line 100. Age is inclined to await death patiently. Both are acceptable and wonderful, and each complements the other. What complicates the philosophy is that we are wont to disagree with each other, to have different values and loves. However, the Rabbi begs that we not give too much credence to the earthly concerns that engender argument and dissension, and trust instead that we are given by God and hence are fit for this struggle. The transience of time does not matter, since this is only one phase of our existence. We need not grow anxious about disagreements and unrealized goals, since the ultimate truth is since this is only one phase of our existence, we need not grow anxious about disagreements and unrealized goals, since the ultimate truth is out of our reach anyway. Again, failure breeds success. He warns against being distracted by the plastic circumstances in lines 164 of the present moment. He ends by stressing that all is a part of unified whole. Even if we cannot glimpse the whole, at the same time, at the same time, at the same time, that age should approve of youth and impress the present moment, it must also be constantly looking upwards towards a heaven to come, and hence simultaneously willing to renounce the present. Rabbi ben Ezra is unique in Browning's over of dramatic monologues, because though it is written from the perspective of a historical figure, it does not contain any clear audience or dramatic situation. As such, it is more a philosophical text than a proper poem. Much of its meaning is dissected in the summary. Rabbi ben Ezra, who was a real historical figure of the 20th century, as I have just told you, and known primarily for his philosophy. For his philosophy that suggested good sometimes lies in its opposite, badness or pain. Browning often takes a figure from the past and uses dramatic irony to propose to conflict between the words and the meaning, but here lacking any sense of the audience to whom he speaks, a congregation, God himself, or of any stakes what he hopes to gain. We are merely to dissect the philosophy. The Rabbi's philosophy is a paradox. The struggles of life hold little meaning, since life is but our soul's first step. Yet the wise man should appreciate everything about life. He praises old age as the time when our soul reaches best fruition on earth, because only in ages can this paradox be appreciated. The Rabbi is willing to admire and appreciate every stage of life, even as he is quick to show the folly of those stages. For instance, youth operates from a place of carpe diem, seizing the day constantly and trying to transcend the limits of the body. The Rabbi notes that with age comes an awareness of the pain and difficulty of life, but he says that a wise man should not be weighted down, but rather lightened by the realization. He preaches that we should accept the present, but not let the concerns of the present dominate us. What lies at the center of his creed is patience and complicity to what comes. He does not deny the basic tenets of a Cartesian philosophy. Time is short and transient. The body, the body does not keep its youth. The world is full of wonderful things to be exploited, but at the same time, he believes that focusing on the ways of the world distracts us from our greater goal, which is to continue growing even in the afterlife. However, it is important. However, it is important to see that while he praises age as superior, it is only superior because it recognizes the beauty of youth's yearnings. Without the latter, the former does not have the insight to both admire and renounce such actions. The most important lesson we learn in old age is that we can know nothing and never truly transcend ourselves. By accepting this limitation, we learn to be content and patient as we near death, which is not an end but a release to a greater sphere where our soul may continue to grow. The Rabbi impresses body and soul, youth and age, death and life, pain and joy, all the while recognizing that the contradictions are the goal. They are beyond our comprehension, and by accepting that can we find true serenity. Now, I just am going to present a critical evaluation of this work further. Robert Browning was an important literary figure of Victorian English literature. He was a poet in the Victorian age who was highly regarded in his time. After his death came a period when critics questioned his poetry, and in the 20th century his popularity declined. Science and discoveries in science and the discoveries in science created more problems for religion and tradition. Everything seemed to be in doubt. Questions were being raised about religion and the Bible. It was a period of doubt and confusion. All this is reflected in Browning's work as though his dramatic monologues. Browning was then a major poet of his time and an important influence on modern poetry, though that was acknowledged much later. In his later years, he came to be looked upon as a wise old man and was highly regarded for his knowledge. Modern critics like T.S. Eliot did not hold him in high esteem, but Ezra Pound paid him a tribute by calling him one of his literary fathers. Rabbi Ben Ezra was first published in 1864. It has 192 lines and is the clearest expression of Browning's optimistic philosophy of life. Rabbi ben Ezra is the narrator here. He was a real 12th century Jewish scholar. What he says here is that in youth man gathers experience. In age he uses this experience to control his nature and behavior. Through man's struggle in youth, through his mistakes, he comes to a spiritual understanding of God, the universe, and man's place in the whole scheme of things. What counts in reality is not what he has achieved, but what his intention is. His aspirations count, and also how much effort he has put in to achieve his goal. He may not be successful in worldly sense, but if the effort, the striving is genuine, and then that is all that matters. It is glorification of failure. The poet takes the symbol of the potter. Just as the potter shapes the pot on the wheel, so also God molds man. He shapes his character by putting him in difficult situations and then sees how he copes. Whatever imperfection there is in the world, it is there because God has made it so. Make man work hard. Thus, behind man's imperfection is the perfection of God. Man has only to understand it. He is the pitcher shaped on the wheel by God, and now the pitcher is ready for use for a future beyond him. So, stanzas 1 to 5. The poem was published in the volume Dramatis Personae in 1864. It gives us his philosophy of life. Old age is the best period of life, for which youth, the first period of life, has been made. Man's life is a whole, youth and old age together. It is not youth alone with its passion and energy, nor old age with its spirituality, but a blend of the two together. Man is distinct from the beast. He has intelligence which separates him from the animals. But if he wastes his life by simply running after pleasure, what is there to boast about? What separates him from animals that only care for food? Once they have eaten as much as they can. They have no other care in the world. Man is not like that. Stanza 6 to 10. Man is not like animals that worry only about food. He is nearer God because of his intelligence, his mind. Therefore, have a goal in life, and try to achieve it. Each rebuff or failure should be welcome because it should make us work together. Joy is made up of three parts: pain, the striving, the hard labor we put in achieve our goals. Now comes the paradox. Now comes the paradox. Now comes the paradox. Does life succeed when it fails? Aspiration counts much more than achievement. If you have a goal, you should work hard to achieve it. You may fail to do so, but that should only make you work more. Man's character is molded by failure. Success makes life easy and man complacent. Failure brings out the strength and courage of man and shows how he is when things are against him. Man is no better than an animal if his soul too is brutish, and if he only tries to satisfy his physical cravings. Youth has its own uses. The experience man gains in his youth is stored up in the brain to be made use of an old age. He can learn from experience, and it helps him to come to a spiritual understanding of life and God and man. He understands that the whole man's of life is a part of God's plan, and man should surrender to God and his plan. Stanzas 11 to 15. Both body and soul are equally important, and body without soul makes man a brute. We should not say that we have gone ahead in spite of the body. Both together make the whole of man, body and soul, youth and old age. One cannot do without the other. Therefore, age should acknowledge the contribution of youth experience. It is this experience which has formed this character and made him whole. Old age is also a period of rest before the soul goes on with a new adventure. Man is complete, made according to God's plan and before being put to use. Now, stanzas from that is 16 to 20. When the moment of death comes, the soul leaves the body. This soul has been formed by man's experience, and now it is ready for its flight. In the formation of man, we can see the hand of God and get an idea of how he works. In youth, he makes mistakes and learns from them, and in old age, he uses it to control his nature. Wisdom comes with age, and he should not be tempted by worldly pleasures. It is also the time when experience, wisdom, and a sense of peace tell man that there is to be afraid of death. There is no need to be afraid of death. Age waits for death calmly. Stanzas 21 to stanzas 26, 25. With age comes wisdom. With age comes wisdom, and we realize that everything is according to God's plan. In youth, the body works hard, and in age, the soul feeds the body. Who will give judgment on man? The world believes that man's success is based on his achievement in this world. Browning says this is not so. Success does not depend on the achievement, but on aspiration, on intent. His goals, thoughts, aims, wishes, and dreams, and how hard he worked to achieve them is what matters. Thus, according to worldly standards, he may be a failure, but he is. But actually, he is a success. The effort he has made to win his goals matters. In God's eyes, these things matter, and according to his standard, man is perfect and well fought. Stanzas, that is 26 through 32. The worldly man believes since life is temporary and will pass soon, man should make the most of life. He should enjoy life while he can. Soon he will grow old and weak and die. Therefore, enjoy life while you can. What he does not realize is that the body changes, grows old, and dies. The earth and the seasons do pass, but the soul remains eternal. It is immortal. God and the soul alone survive, the potter and the clay. All else is temporary and will pass from this earth one day. The soul and God alone last failure is just a means of purifying and strengthening man's soul. Just as gold is purified by fire, so also man's soul is made perfect by difficulties and failures. God is the potter and man is the clay. The potter is shaping the clay on the wheel, which is the world. The experiences of youth have made lines to pitcher or the pot. They have been formed and are hardened, but near the rim are new lines, new lines on the pitcher or the pot. They have been formed and are hardened, but near the rim are new lines formed by age, which are strong and can bear any amount of stress. Rabbi Ben Ezra is Browning's clearest attempt to explain his philosophy or his outlook on life. The universe, God and man's relation to all this, it is in one sense a dramatic monologue because only one man speaks. The speaker is Rabbi Ben Ezra or Abraham ibn Ezra, a 12th century Jewish scholar who was an actual person whom he speaks to is not made clear. He just puts forth his idea of God, man, and universe. He is the spokesman for Browning, of course. Browning generally says that his poems are objective and do not express any of his opinions. But some views are repeated so often that we can make but some views are repeated so often that we can take them as being Browning. So this way, dear students, I have finished my poem. I have finished my lecture today. This lecture is over. Thank you. Thank you. This